3 years ago, my husband looked me in the eyes and said, I didn't marry a sick woman, before walking out of our home forever. Today, he's sitting in the front row of my Cancer Support Center's grand opening, and I'm about to hand him something he'll never forget. My name is Marina Westfield. I'm 42 years old, though people say I look younger now than I did before the cancer. Maybe it's because I finally learned what actually matters. Maybe it's because I stopped trying to be the perfect wife Derek wanted me to be. Derek Westfield, my ex-husband, is 45 and still looks like he stepped out of a Brooks Brothers catalog. Even now, sitting in that front row with his new girlfriend, he's checking his Rolex and smoothing his tie. Some habits never change. He manages hedge funds for wealthy clients who trust him with their millions. Funny how he couldn't manage to stand by his wife through 6 months of chemo. I can see him from here, probably expecting me to acknowledge him during my speech. Maybe he thinks I'll thank him. After all, if he hadn't left me when I was at my weakest, I never would have found my strength. But gratitude isn't what I have planned for Derek today. The auditorium is packed with 200 people who actually understand what courage means. Women who lost their hair but not their hope. Families who stayed when things got ugly. Doctors who became friends. And right there in the front row sits the man who promised to love me in sickness and in health, until sickness actually showed up. I grip the edges of the podium and look directly at him. He shifts in his seat. Good. He should be uncomfortable, because in about 30 minutes, I'm going to walk up to him in front of everyone and hand him a brochure with a title that will haunt him for the rest of his life. Strong Women He Couldn't Handle. But first, let me tell you how a woman who once cried in a hospital bathroom because her husband wouldn't hold her hand during chemo became the founder of the Phoenix Center for Women. Let me tell you about the day my perfect life revealed itself as a beautiful lie, and how that lie breaking apart was the best thing that ever happened to me. Our house in Westport, Connecticut, looked like something from an architecture magazine. White colonial, black shutters, circular driveway with Derek's Mercedes and my Range Rover parked just so. The gardener came twice a week to maintain the rose bushes I never had time to enjoy. From the outside, we were living the American dream. Derek and I had been married for 15 years. We met at a Yale alumni event when I was 25 and working my first job at a marketing firm in Manhattan. He was already making 6 figures at Goldman Sachs, and I was impressed by his confidence. You're too beautiful to be this smart, he said, handing me champagne. I should have known then. Every morning, Derek would wake at 5 a.m. for his workout. He'd stand in front of our bathroom mirror, examining his abs like a teenager. Marina, you should join me at the gym, he'd say, pinching the skin at his waist. We're not getting any younger. I was running marketing campaigns for 3 Fortune 500 companies, but somehow, my body was supposed to be my full-time job too. My mother, Elena Briggs, lived in Philadelphia. At 68, she still worked part-time as a nursing consultant because retirement is for people who've given up. She called every Sunday at exactly 2 p.m. How's Derek? She'd always ask first. Never, how are you? She'd been trained by a generation that believed keeping your husband happy was a wife's primary purpose. My sister Cora was different. 8 years younger, she'd become a pediatrician in Boston and married David Chen, a man who cooked dinner when she had long shifts and bragged about her accomplishments at parties. Marina, does Derek ever ask about your work? She asked during one visit. Of course, I lied, remembering how he'd rolled his eyes when I mentioned my latest campaign win. Our children were the lights of my life. Sophie, 14, had Derek's sharp features and my stubborn streak. She played volleyball with the intensity of an Olympian and kept her trophies lined up on her bedroom shelf. Mom, watch this serve. She'd call out in the backyard, and I'd drop whatever I was doing to watch. Derek only came to her games when his boss might be there. Nathan, our 11-year-old, was quieter. He'd spend hours sketching in notebooks, creating entire worlds with his pencils. Mom, look. I drew our family as superheroes, he showed me once. In his drawing, I was flying, Derek was checking his phone, and Nathan had drawn himself very small in the corner. Children see everything. Image is everything, Marina, Derek would say, before every country club event, every client dinner, every school function. He'd inspect my outfit like a drill sergeant. That dress makes you look heavy. Wear the black one. Or, when did you last get your roots done? Call the salon tomorrow. I'd stand there, a successful executive in my own right, being dressed like a doll. The warning signs were everywhere, but I'd been trained not to see them. When I gained 5 pounds after turning 40, Derek bought me a gym membership for my birthday. "It's for your health," he said, though I had perfect blood pressure and ran 3 miles every other day. When I suggested we skip the Hamiltons' party to have a family movie night, he accused me of letting ourselves slip socially. His introduction at parties became my personal humiliation. "This is my wife Marina. She used to model in college." Can you believe it? The emphasis on "used to" felt like a knife each time. Yes, I'd done some catalog work to pay for textbooks. No, it wasn't my identity. But for Derek, I was a trophy that was losing its shine. What I didn't know then was that I was about to face something that would strip away all pretense. Cancer doesn't care about your country club status or your husband's portfolio. It doesn't check your dress size or your social calendar. Cancer arrives like a truth teller, revealing who really loves you and who's just been playing a part. Looking back, I was already sick before the diagnosis. Sick with pretending, sick with perfection, sick with being someone's accessory instead of my own person. The tumor was just the physical manifestation of a life that needed radical surgery. I found the lump on a Tuesday morning while Derek was in Tokyo closing a deal. My fingers paused over the small, hard mass under my left breast. Time stopped. I checked again. Still there. My hands started shaking as I reached for my phone to call my gynecologist. "We need to do a mammogram immediately," Dr. Patricia Reeves said after examining me. "Today, if possible." The radiologist's face told me everything before the biopsy results came back. When the call came 3 days later, I was sitting in my office, preparing a presentation. "Marina, I'm sorry, it's invasive ductal carcinoma, stage 2B. Derek was still in Tokyo. I called him 17 times before he answered. "What's the emergency?" "I'm about to enter a client meeting." When I told him, the silence stretched so long I thought we'd been disconnected. "Are you sure?" he finally asked. "Maybe you should get a second opinion. These doctors make mistakes all the time." He flew back 2 days later. I met him at the door, exhausted from sleepless nights of research and fear. He hugged me briefly, then pulled back to look at my face. "You look tired," he said. Not, "I'm here for you," or "We'll get through this together." Just, "You look tired." The oncologist, Dr. Sarah Morrison, laid out my treatment plan like a military strategy. 6 months of chemotherapy, then surgery, then radiation. "We're going to be aggressive," she said, "but your prognosis is good if we start immediately." Derek sat beside me, checking his phone every few minutes. When Dr. Morrison asked if he had questions, he said, "How long until she's back to normal?" That night, Derek moved to the guest room. "I have the Goldman presentation tomorrow. I need to be sharp." One night became a week. A week became our new normal. When I woke up vomiting at 3 a.m., I cleaned it up alone while he slept soundly down the hall. Sophie noticed first. "Mom, why doesn't Dad eat dinner with us anymore?" I made excuses about his work schedule. Nathan started drawing pictures of our family with Derek standing far apart from the rest of us. Children always know. My first chemotherapy session was scheduled for a Monday. Sunday night, I asked Derek to come with me. "Marina, you know Mondays are crazy for me. Can't your sister come?" When I reminded him that Cora lived in Boston and had patients, he sighed like I was being unreasonable. "Fine, I'll reschedule my morning meeting." But Monday came, and Derek had an emergency. Then Tuesday had a crisis. By Wednesday, I stopped asking. My mother flew in from Philadelphia instead, holding my hand while poison dripped into my veins, killing the cancer and everything else in its path. 3 weeks into treatment, I was bent over the toilet when Derek appeared in the doorway with a suitcase. My hair had started falling out in clumps. I'd taken to wearing a soft cap to bed so I wouldn't leave strands on the pillow. "I can't do this, Marina," he said, not even entering the bathroom to help me. This isn't what I signed up for. I wiped my mouth with shaking hands and turned to face him. What exactly did you sign up for, Derek? I didn't marry a sick woman, he said, the words falling between us like stones. I married someone vibrant, beautiful, someone who took care of herself. I have cancer, Derek. I didn't choose this. Didn't you? He shook his head. You stopped going to the gym. You let your work stress you out. You ate that garbage when you traveled. Maybe if you'd taken better care of yourself. The cruelty of it knocked the breath from my lungs. In sickness and in health, I whispered. Remember? That was before you let this happen to yourself. He picked up his suitcase. I'll have my lawyer contact you about the details. I'm staying at the Ritz until I find a place. He left me there, on the bathroom floor, bald and vomiting and shattered. Sophie found me an hour later and helped me to bed. Where's Dad? She asked, though I think she already knew. Nathan crawled in beside me with his sketchbook, drawing warriors with swords fighting dark shadows. The good guys always win, Mom, he said quietly. But sitting there, poisoned and abandoned, I wasn't sure he was right. The divorce papers arrived during my third round of chemotherapy. A courier knocked while Sophie was helping me to the bathroom, my legs too weak to manage alone. She signed for the envelope, her face crumbling when she saw the law firm's name. Mom, you don't have to open this now, she said. But we both knew Derek's timing was intentional. He always did have a gift for the gut punch. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat with those papers spread across my bed. Derek wanted the house, citing my inability to maintain the property in my current condition. He offered minimal support, arguing that my cancer was a pre-existing condition that altered our financial agreement. I laughed until I cried, then cried until I threw up. My sister Cora called the next morning. I'm flying down tomorrow, no arguments. Her voice was steel. David can handle the kids, you need me. An hour later, my mother called. Marina, I've been thinking about your father. This surprised me. She rarely mentioned him. He left when I was 35, said I'd gotten too comfortable, too boring. You know what I did? I became the woman he could never have again. Not for him, but for me. The chemo ward became my unexpected sanctuary. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I sat in the same corner chair, watching poison drip into my veins alongside 5 other women. Sherry, 38, whose boyfriend of 6 years told her he couldn't handle the drama of her ovarian cancer. Keisha, 45, whose husband blamed her breast cancer for ruining their retirement plans and filed for divorce 2 weeks after her diagnosis. Rosa, 52, whose family called her damaged goods and stopped inviting her to family gatherings because cancer might be contagious. We should start a club, Keisha joked one day, adjusting her bright purple wig. The abandoned cancer fighters. We could get t-shirts. We laughed, but something shifted in that moment. These women understood my pain in ways my healthy friends couldn't. We were bonded by more than cancer. We were united by abandonment. That afternoon, Dr. Morrison found me writing furiously in a notebook. What's that? She asked, checking my IV. Just some ideas, I said, showing her my scrawled notes about a support group. Her face lit up. Marina, this is exactly what our patients need. Let me introduce you to our social services director. Within a week, we held our first meeting in the hospital cafeteria. 8 women showed up. By the 3rd meeting, we had 20. I stood before them, bald and exhausted, and shared my story. My husband said he didn't marry a sick woman, I told them. But maybe that's exactly who I needed to become. Between surgeries and radiation treatments, I became obsessed with a bigger vision. Not just a support group, but a center. A place where abandoned women could find practical help, legal resources, counseling, and most importantly, each other. I wrote grant proposals with one hand, while nurses accessed my port with the other. I made phone calls to potential donors between vomiting sessions. I sketched building layouts on the backs of medical forms. Sophie became my research assistant, helping me find statistics on partner abandonment during illness. Mom, did you know women are 6 times more likely to be divorced during serious illness than men? She told me, her young face furious with injustice. Nathan designed logos for what we started calling the Phoenix Center, drawing women rising from flames with powerful wings. My mother moved in temporarily, taking over the household while I fought 2 battles. One against cancer, one for a purpose. You're doing too much, she worried, watching me work from my hospital bed. No, I corrected her. I'm finally doing enough. 6 months into treatment, my scans came back clean. The cancer was retreating, but more importantly, I was advancing. I had incorporated the Phoenix Center as a nonprofit, secured our first major donation from a grateful patient's widow, and found a perfect building location. A former wellness center whose owner had lost her own battle with cancer and whose family wanted it used for something meaningful. The night before my final radiation treatment, I looked in the mirror at my scarred chest, my patchy returning hair, my thin frame. Derek would have been horrified, but I saw a warrior. I saw someone who had been refined by fire and emerged not despite the burning, but because of it. Tomorrow, I would ring the bell signaling the end of treatment. But really, it was just the beginning. 3 years later, the Phoenix Center's grand opening arrived on a perfect September morning. The renovated building gleamed with fresh paint and hope. Purple and teal ribbons, our signature colors, decorated every surface. Local news crews set up cameras while volunteers arranged 200 chairs in our main auditorium. I stood in my office, now healthy and strong, wearing a deep purple dress that showed my reconstruction scars with pride. Marina, you're not going to believe this. Cora rushed in, her face flushed. Derek just walked in, with some young woman on his arm. My stomach flipped, but not with the familiar fear. Something else. Anticipation, maybe. Perfect timing, I said, smoothing my dress. Cora's eyes widened. Marina Westfield, what are you planning? The auditorium filled quickly. Survivors, families, medical professionals, donors, and media packed every seat. I watched from backstage as Derek chose front row center, of course. His new girlfriend, a blonde who couldn't be older than 28, wore yoga pants and a confused expression. Derek looked exactly the same. Pressed suit, perfect hair, checking his phone every 30 seconds. I took the podium to thunderous applause. Welcome to the Phoenix Center for Women, I began, making eye contact with the crowd but letting my gaze linger on Derek. He shifted, probably expecting acknowledgement. 3 years ago, I was told by someone I loved that he didn't marry a sick woman. Today, I stand before you, not as a sick woman, but as a survivor who learned that the real cancer wasn't in my body. It was in relationships that couldn't withstand the test of true partnership. I shared our mission, introduced our programs, and recognized major donors. Then I told my story, the whole truth of it. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I lost my hair, my strength, and my husband. But I gained something invaluable, the knowledge that my worth wasn't determined by someone else's comfort level with my illness. The audience was riveted. I saw several women wiping tears, men reaching for their wives' hands. Derek sat frozen, his face reddening as cameras captured every moment. Today, the Phoenix Center opens its doors to women who've been told they're too much trouble, too sick to love, too damaged to deserve partnership. We're here to remind them that they're warriors, not victims. After the speech, the reception buzzed with energy. Survivors shared stories, donors wrote checks, and reporters requested interviews. I moved through the crowd accepting congratulations when I saw Derek approaching. The room seemed to sense the moment. Conversations quieted, heads turned. Marina, he started, using his business voice. Congratulations on this. It's quite impressive. The girlfriend stood beside him, scrolling through her phone, oblivious to the tension. I smiled, the kind of smile I'd learned in radiation waiting rooms, bright and bulletproof. Derek, I'm so glad you came. I have something for you. I reached for the stack of brochures on the nearby table, selecting one specifically. The glossy cover featured a photo of me, healthy and radiant, surrounded by other survivors. The title in bold purple letters read, Strong Women He Couldn't Handle, a guide to supporting your partner through cancer. I handed it to him with steady hands. I thought this might be helpful. For future reference. Derek's face went from red to white as he read the cover. He opened it, finding stories of abandoned women who had become advocates, executives, athletes, and artists. My bio was featured prominently. Marina Westfield, founder and director, abandoned by her husband 3 weeks into chemotherapy, now leads the premier support center for women facing cancer without partner support. Marina, he stammered, aware of the photographers capturing everything, the crowd watching, his girlfriend looking up from her phone in confusion. Save it for someone who needs your approval, I said, my voice carrying clearly. I'm not that woman anymore. I haven't been for a long time. What's happening? The girlfriend asked, finally sensing the tension. Who are you? I'm his ex-wife, I said, extending my hand to her. The sick one. Though, as you can see, I recovered. From everything. I looked at Derek meaningfully on that last word. Security approached, my pre-arranged signal for handling any disruptions. Mr. Westfield, thank you for coming. The exit is this way. Derek left, clutching the brochure, his perfect image shattered in front of the very community he'd once tried so hard to impress. The room erupted in applause, not for the drama, but for the victory it represented. Every woman who'd been left, every person who'd been deemed unworthy of love during illness, saw themselves in that moment. We hadn't just opened a center. We'd reclaimed our narrative. Sophie appeared at my elbow, now 17 and wearing a Phoenix Center volunteer badge. Mom, that was incredible. Dad needed to hear that. Nathan, 14 and taller than me now, hugged me tight. You're the real superhero, Mom. You always were. 2 months after the grand opening, Karma paid Derek a visit. His girlfriend Brittany left him when he complained about her taking 3 days off work for what he called minor surgery to remove a benign cyst. She sent me a message through Instagram. Now I understand what you went through. Thank you for opening my eyes. I didn't respond, but I did smile. The Phoenix Center exploded beyond my wildest dreams. In our first year, we served over 500 women. We partnered with 3 major hospitals to provide immediate support for newly diagnosed patients facing relationship stress. Our legal clinic helped women navigate divorces while battling illness. Our career center retrained survivors for new jobs after extended medical leave. But my favorite addition was our wall of photos. Women who were too sick to love, now thriving, laughing, living. Sophie graduated high school as valedictorian, her speech focusing on watching her mother transform pain into purpose. She's now pre-med at Johns Hopkins, planning to specialize in oncology. I want to be the doctor who tells women they're going to survive, she told me, all of it. Nathan runs art therapy workshops at the center, teaching children of cancer patients to express their fears through creativity. His superhero drawings now cover our children's room walls, each one depicting a different child finding their power. My mother Elena moved to Connecticut permanently, running our family support program with the efficiency of a general. I was wrong, she told me one night over tea. I always asked about Derek first, never you. I taught you to put him before yourself. I'm sorry. That apology healed wounds I didn't know were still bleeding. Derek tried to contact me several times, first through lawyers, wanting to renegotiate the divorce terms now that I was successful. Then through mutual friends, testing if I'd softened. Finally, a handwritten letter arrived at the center. I read it once, then filed it away. Some apologies come too late to matter. Here's what cancer taught me that Derek never could. Strength isn't about maintaining a perfect image. It's about showing up to chemotherapy alone and still believing in tomorrow. It's about losing your hair and finding your voice. It's about being abandoned at your lowest point and choosing to build a ladder for others in the same pit. Every evening when I lock up the center, I see my reflection in the glass doors. Not the scared woman from 3 years ago, begging her husband to stay. Not the perfectionist who thought her worth was tied to her dress size. I see Marina Westfield, survivor, advocate, mother, warrior. A woman who was told she was too sick to love and responded by creating a place where love meets you exactly where you are. My phone buzzes with a text from Sophie. Mom, another woman just called. Her husband left yesterday. She needs us. I unlock the door and flip the lights back on. Tell her we have room. I text back. We always have room. Because here's the truth Derek never understood. When you marry someone, you marry all of them. Their strength and their sickness, their beauty and their scars, their triumphs and their battles. You marry their future cancer, their potential disability, their inevitable aging. You marry a human being, not a trophy. To every woman whose partner walked away when the test results came back, when the hair fell out, when the surgery scars appeared, hear this. You are not damaged goods. You are refined gold, tested by fire. And if they couldn't handle your strength in sickness, they never deserved your radiance in health. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us introduce us to the best parts of ourselves. Derek leaving me wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of my purpose. He was right about one thing. He didn't marry a sick woman. He married a woman who hadn't yet discovered her strength. And when she finally found it, she was too much for him to handle. The Phoenix Center stands as proof that abandonment isn't the end. It's transformation waiting to happen. Every woman who walks through our doors trading tears for determination proves it. We are strong women they couldn't handle. And honestly, that's their loss. If this story resonated with you, if you've felt abandoned in your darkest hour or know someone who has, please share this video. Your share might reach someone who needs to hear that they're not alone. Leave a comment below with your own story of rising from the ashes. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories of triumph over life's greatest challenges. Together, we rise.